Watch out!
Okay, so I need to talk about this with you guys because it's feeling a little bit unfair and not anyone's fault except for, I guess, Nintendo at this point, or Nintendo, the Pokemon Company. You know, all these greedy companies, gaming companies specifically right now, they are literally impeding on our ability to enjoy games and enjoy the things that we like and want to enjoy. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, there's been several instances, specifically within this past year, with Nintendo and even prior years with the Pokemon Company, you know, the last like half decade to a decade. They're partaking in practices that are just super anti-consumer, taking advantage of us in a plethora of ways. And the latest way is game key cards. Now, I'm going to use the specific example of this most recent incident of a game that I'm very excited for, that I can't be excited for, at least not openly and happily on the internet, without a lot of blowback by audiences who feel, rightfully so, like they are being taken advantage of by these companies. So the recent example is that I'm over here gushing about the new Pokemon game, Pokopia, and heck, even Pokemon Legends EA. I've been gushing about both of these. Now, people are mad about Legends EA because of the practices of the Pokemon Company, and it's only added up over time, and people are just like not letting anyone be vocally happy and excited about Legends EA online at this point. Again, I'm not even blaming the audience. I am blaming the companies responsible for us boiling over like this, being in this case the Pokemon Company for Pokemon Legends EA, because they did so much wrong in the past, specifically with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon BDSP. You know, just so much. Everyone has been taking a mental tally of how many times they've been screwed by them, and it's come to a head with a game that arguably I feel like doesn't deserve much of the hate that it's getting, being Pokemon Legends EA, but because it's not doing everything perfectly, which after Scarlet and Violet, we deserved a game that did everything perfectly, and I agree to that, people are attacking Pokemon ZA instead, and attacking people who are enjoying Pokemon ZA, such as myself. Now, to a more extreme case, Pokemon Pokopia is a game that I'm even more excited about than I was for Pokemon Legends EA, because it is a dream game that I've had for a long time that is coming out soon. And I've put 2 videos gushing about it so far. One of them I just put up, I think it was yesterday, and I am just so unbelievably excited for this game. But the worst part is I can't, and honestly probably shouldn't be. And this is because the debacle that everyone is focusing on right now being game key cards. Now, a game key card is essentially you get a physical cartridge, but that cartridge doesn't actually store the data for the game itself on there. It actually stores a digital download of that game anyway. Or do you even get a cartridge? I actually don't know if you get a cartridge. I think there's a cartridge and you put it in and it just represents that you have that game digitally or something like that. Either that or it's just a code. I don't even know. I've never gotten a game key card yet, but the Switch 2 is really pushing them forward. So I'm going to have to experience it sooner or later, but it's bad because it means you don't necessarily own that game. And that's why people are so worried and hate it so much, because it is setting up a future where we don't own the games that we buy, and Nintendo can deactivate them at any time, or whatever gaming company has the game key cards can deactivate them at any time, and we no longer have access to that. That way they force you to keep getting the newest system and the newest version of those games, yada yada. And in typical Pokemon fashion, Pokemon Pokopia is becoming the face of that hatred towards this new system, because it was used as an example in a new ad for game key cards, and that ad showed them using Pokopia as an example. Now, this doesn't necessarily prove 100% that this is a game key card for Pokopia, that it's the only way that we're going to be able to play that physically, but it is, you know, insinuating that, even though it hasn't been confirmed on any outlet. And then on top of that, you want to factor in the fact that the game is probably, most likely, going to be $70. Again, I don't know if that's confirmed either, but part of this entire game key card, or the way that these companies are justifying it, is by saying it's cheaper to do that rather than getting a 64 gigabyte actual physical cartridge if the games don't meet that gigabyte criteria. Because I think they only offer 64 gigabyte and 128 gigabyte cartridges for companies that want to put out complete physical versions of their games. So we thought this was going to be reserved just for third party. And Pokemon is kind of second party, not third party. So even more to our surprise, that Pokopia would be a game key card. Now let's move forward, assuming that is true. We are going to assume that Pokemon Pokopia is going to be a game key card release for physical retail. If that is true, it is just another thing that people can add up in their consistently building disdain towards Nintendo and Pokemon and whatever else. Again, especially in Pokemon's case, rightfully so. And this is because we already saw what the budgets look like compared to how much money Pokemon makes thanks to the Terra League 2, and also just the obvious of looking at the low budget of these games and how they will release them in incomplete states, Scarlet and Violet. But supposedly game key cards are supposed to be cheaper. And so why are we paying full price for this, $70 for this Pokemon spin-off game, especially if that justification of saving money is supposed to be real? Saving money to make a game key card instead of a full cartridge for it because it doesn't match those sizes, being the 64 gigabyte and the 128 gigabyte. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, you technically do not own the game when you have the game key card because it's a digital download essentially, and digital downloads can be deactivated for access at any time by the distributors. So here you have little old me, just wanting to have a good time with Pokemon. I am enjoying Pokemon Legends EA so much, and I want to, and I'm so excited to enjoy Pokemon Pokopia, but there's so many negatives associated with it. And don't get me wrong, I am also one of those people who cannot afford this stuff. I am also struggling financially, just like most of you are. I mean, I live in America. Who isn't struggling financially right now? And my refuge is supposed to be video games. It's a fictional alternate world that I can dive into and forget the perils of the real world. I can just live out a fictional dream life of going through these unimaginable places with these awesome imaginative creatures, dressing my characters up, changing their hair, changing their clothes, just melting away as if there are no problems, no real problems to be had except those that exist within the game world I am inhabiting, which in Pokemon's case usually isn't anything too bad. And that's part of what I love about it. For me, it's a cozy game. And Pokemon Pokopia seems to be the coziest of Pokemon's coziness when it comes to Pokemon games. But I can't bask in that. Matter of fact, I'm not being let to bask in that. Not only is YouTube's algorithms only pushing negative content that refers to any of these games that I'm excited about out to fans, but in doing so, it is punishing those of us who want to talk excitedly about these things. So not only are those of us who want to escape into video game worlds getting screwed over by these gaming companies themselves because of their terribly anti-consumer practices, but we're also getting screwed over by the very platform that I am on right now trying to make a living on. Yeah, money is hemorrhaging left and right, and I can't escape into a game because of all that we just talked about, but also because audiences don't want that. They want to be angry right now because why wouldn't they be angry? Because everything is piling up and piling up and piling up, and we're just getting angrier and angrier and angrier, myself included at this point. It's like there's no room for positivity, whether it be from the perspective of someone who is trying to escape into video games or someone who is struggling financially. In my case, I'm both. I imagine a lot of you are both too. So what is going on? How can we fix this? I can't make this video and not have a solution for you. I mean, the best I can offer. If you're like me and you have any sort of platform, use your voice to express your disdain with these practices. But also, I've said this in the past. I'm going to get so much hate for this, but like, use your votes to vote for candidates in political branches of government or wherever, Congress, that are for the average individual, for the average citizen, not for these big companies. It's not even political anymore. It's like our right to live and exist at this point. And some of you get it, some of you really do, but some people refuse. They just refuse to listen, look at facts. And I don't know what to do. So is there another way? Is there something else we can do aside from using our votes? Maybe some of you aren't even old enough to do that. I don't know. Like, we can try voting with our wallets, but we've proven time and time again, we can't even do that either. And to the credit of the people who get mad at me for trying to recommend some sort of politics to fix this, we don't want to make this about politics. We don't want to have to assume politics to move forward in a direction that will make all this better. So to that, I say, if you have ideas for what we can do that can work and maybe have been proven to work in some places in society, comment it down below. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen. If really like voting people who are willing to help us into power isn't your idea of that solution, then give an alternative. If it works, right? I'll listen. We'll listen. We'll do it. If it works, it works. I just want to enjoy my video games. I want to enjoy gushing about my video games, but I'm getting punished by YouTube algorithms, by the companies making the games that I want, and by the effects all of that has on my audience, because we're all angry. So let's do a think tank. Let's think together on how we can fix this. Comment it down below in the comments. Afterwards, if you do want some positivity, then feel free to watch my last video linked here where I gush about Pokemon Pokopia now that we finally have the release date. If you are someone fortunate enough to help out, want to have your name featured at the end of all of my videos, and even experience all of my videos ad-free, then feel free to join my Patreon with the link in front of you and choose any of the paid tiers. There's the Cyndaquil icon or the links in the description. I've been johtojonny, and I'll catch you all there.